These are characteristics that are the unteachables, and these are what we have to look for in the interview process, not experience. How to avoid hiring the wrong people. This is probably one of the most asked questions that we get as a recruiting solution. How do you avoid hiring the wrong people? Well, we're going to go over a few steps on how we can do that, and I'm going to go over them. So there's 6 steps that I'm going to recommend in this video. First one is desperation, right? We're always hiring out of desperation, talking too much. I'll go over why. Emotions, right? Emotional decisions, experience, teach, and settling. So let's dive into them. Desperation. Well, I mean, this is like the timeless struggle with hiring, is that we're constantly as businesses hiring out of desperation. We need to stop doing this. This is one of the reasons why we should always be recruiting. We hear everyone say it. We know it, but only 38% of people, companies worldwide, are always recruiting. 38%. It's crazy because it reduces our time to hire, it reduces our recruiting cost, it makes us more competitive, and it makes us not desperate. But we need to make sure that we're not hiring out of desperation. I would rather you not hire someone than hire out of desperation. That's why we need to become a more proactive recruiter, right? More a proactive company. We need to set a time more aside to take recruiting seriously, to look at it like, you know what? We're not in the business of cleaning or mowing lawns. We're in the business of recruiting, not we recruit. I'm talking about your business is in the business of recruiting, because the person or company that can hire the best talent fastest and retain them will be the winner. They will be they will have the competitive edge. So we need to stop acting out of desperation. Really, one of the reasons or one of the ways you stop avoiding hiring the wrong people. You're talking too much in the interview process. Talking too much can make you seem nervous, desperate, unprepared. It cheapens the interview experience. So we need to stop talking so much, and we need to start listening 4 times to our talking. Why? Because if we're not listening and we're not paying attention, we're not hearing them. We're not hearing what they're saying, not with just their words, but with their eyes and their body. So we need to stop talking, because if you're talking too much, it means you're not prepared, right? It means that you're cheapening the experience. And at the end of the day, that candidate is on trial, right? They need to convince us that they're a great fit. So we need to make sure that it's not a casual conversation. We don't get political. This is a serious process. And when I say process, I mean your interview needs to be a process. I always compare it to, like a play or show. Plays are rehearsed, they're sketched, they're practiced over and over and over. The stage is set up properly. They're ready. They know what they're doing for showtime. And so that's why I always compare it to a play or a show, is because of the preparation that needs to go into it. We do this with sales. We do role play. We interact. We role play being a customer and the salesperson, but we don't do any of this during for interviews at all, for recruiting. And I have to say, interviewing is harder than sales, because you have more on the line. If I hire one bad customer, or I do a job for one bad customer, okay, I may lose a few $100s. But if I hire a really bad employee, those bad employees can cost your company anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 in quality issues, complaints, even the cost of recruiting, $5,000 to $15,000. So that's why the interview process itself should be a process, a documented, well-followed process. And we need to make sure that we're not talking too much. Remember, 4 times to the 1. Listening 4 times to our 1 time of talking. Next is making emotional decisions. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been understaffed and the phone is ringing and, we're just desperate. It goes back to desperation. But sometimes we involve our emotions in it, right? We make it such an emotional decision, whether we are emotionally attached to that person because maybe we see something in them, but we don't want to use our emotions. So there's a study done, and it says in the first 30 seconds, we are going to judge someone, whether we know it or not. It's subconscious. And It can be whether we like them one way or the other, but our emotions are involved in that. Like, oh my God, I love their shoes. Like, oh my gosh, they have a 5-year-old. So do I. Emotions have now been added to the mix, and then that creates bias. So we need to make sure that we take our emotions out of it, and we need to assess them, assess the applicants fairly and consistently. So we need to make sure that we're not hiring out of desperation, right? Because that's the number one reason why we make bad hires. But I would say emotions are probably second to that, because our emotions are involved when we get desperate, right? Our emotions are involved when we talk too much in the interview because we're nervous, we're emotional. But we need to make sure we're hiring everyone, we're interviewing everyone fairly, and we're hearing them through, right? Consistently. Our next one is experience, right? Experience. We keep putting so much emphasis on experience. We need to stop with experience. We need to stop holding so much weight on a piece of paper that's a resume that I could have put that I was a doctor and you would never know. And we need to start looking at people's accomplishments in life. What are accomplishments? Well, accomplishments are things they saw through to the end. Instead of experience, like I could have 5 years of experience in sales, but I could have sucked for those 5 years. But you're looking for experience. I'm looking for accomplishments. Accomplishments. Focus more on what that applicant has done. Focus on what they've done, not necessarily what he or she has. And you want to make sure that you ask the right questions to see what those accomplishments are, like finishing school, volunteering, maybe buying their first home. What are they proud of? What accomplishments have they accomplished in life that they're proud of, that they want to talk to you about in detail? Because this is a great indicator of someone who sticks through to the end. Winners stay winners. So if they finish something, they're a winner. And laggers are always laggers. But we don't know that just based off experience. We want to talk accomplishments. If they have experience in sales, but they accomplished something, like they accomplished getting sales, the close rate up to 60% from 30, that was an accomplishment. Being in sales and experience is the experience they have. But what have they accomplished in life? And it doesn't matter if it's professional or personal. Accomplishments means they saw it to the end. Our next one is teach. This is funny because I fall trap into this one. We fail to look at the essential success factors that we cannot teach. Right? We think we can teach everybody everything. We think we see the good in people and we think we can teach them certain things, but there are 5 unteachable characteristics that we need to make sure we're looking for that cannot be taught. We can teach skill. Like I can teach someone how to mow a lawn or clean a house or clean a building, but we cannot teach someone these 5 unteachable, and I'm going to go through them with you. They're character, attitude, drive, passion, and energy. We cannot teach someone to have energy to wake up every day, to roll over out of bed and to scrub a toilet. We cannot teach someone to have passion, to care about what the customer thinks about the facility they just cleaned, right? Or the lawn they just mowed. These are characteristics that are the unteachables, and these are what we have to look for in the interview process, not experience. We just talked about experience, right? Experience is worthless, in my opinion, right? Unless, I'm a CDL driver and I need a CDL. That just means I'm qualified. That doesn't mean it has anything to do with experience. I don't want you to get those confused, like a qualifying factor versus experience. So the 5 unteachables, we tend to see the best in people. And I love that in entrepreneurism and being a business owner. But at the same time, this can set us up to fail because there are things we cannot teach someone. If you're inherently a negative person, it's going to be really hard for my company or me to teach you to be a positive person. That is a hard feat. And so we want to make sure we're not setting ourselves up to fail. And within those 5 unteachables, what are you looking for? What is a great hire to your business as far as what kind of character do they have? What kind of attitude creates a great technician? What kind of drive am I looking for? What am I looking for passion, but in what area? Where should they be passionate at? In quality, customer service, skill? Like where should they be passionate? And then energy. We need everyone to wake up on time, to get to work on time, to love what they do. And that creates that comes with a level of energy that we cannot teach anyone. So remember, we fall short when it comes to looking at those factors that we cannot teach, which are those 5 unteachables. And then lastly is settling. Settling. Number 6 is settling. Settling. When in doubt, we just settle for the least bad applicant, the least bad candidate. And that whole saying is like, well, they had a pulse, they fogged a mirror. But we need to stop settling. That's why we should, one, always be recruiting, build your bench. If you saw that video, but you should go back and look at our emails, that was in a video. But we need to make sure that we're not settling. Build that bench, always be recruiting. Always be recruiting does not mean always be hiring, because people are like, Libby, I can't afford to always be hiring. Always be recruiting, because then if you're always interviewing and you're always recruiting, you cannot tell me that if a rock star, an A player walks in your door, that you're not going to hire them, because the only thing you would need to go do is up your marketing, right? Up your marketing. But we need to make sure that we even know what we're looking for before we even start, because that way we're not settling. So know what you're looking for, always be recruiting. So when a rock star does walk in your door, you don't have to settle. You don't even have to settle for the least bad candidate. You don't even have to settle for your current employees that may not be a good fit. There's no settling at all. You've all of a sudden created a company that you love and that's growing with the right people in the right seats. So I'd rather you be understaffed than you settle for the least bad candidate.